Okay, I believe that we are live, and welcome everybody. And is that working, Lars? Okay, we'll wait just a second here. Good, great. All right. So, today, the virus is still going on, but I'm going to be teaching about causal situations. If you look at the news, recent news, and the last few weeks, the rioting, and the process behind the rioting is that there's groups of people that show up and create violent situations, and they instigate other people to do things that are violent, such as steal things or break windows or destroy, vandalize, burn trash cans, and it's all being done in an organized way, not an unorganized way. So this isn't people just happen to be showing up at a group situation where they're protesting. This is protesters on a professional scale. Yeah. And if you watch this historically over the last 5 to 10 years out of America, we'd find that this group shows up all the time. They wear black masks, they wear black, they wear hoodies, they behave in the same manner every time, and they get a little bit more sophisticated as time goes on, and numbers are larger. Yeah. And so the origin of these people, by a great percentage, is from the state of Washington, and from a city called Seattle. Yeah, so Seattle has its problems. It has grunge. It has a lot of very interesting behavioral aspects. Satanism and many other things is carried on in large ways in the area of Seattle. And also it's the place of the home of two of the biggest monopolies on the planet, Microsoft and Amazon. And these are well-known monopolies. They're both going into court and have gone through it and have been recognized fully as monopolies, and yet they still exist and they still do exactly what they're doing. And so the money aspect of it is big in a little tiny place called Seattle. And then you have Starbucks, you have many, many other really large corporations that are sitting there. But at the same time, you have it is the most crime in America. Per capita, there's more crime in this little city of Seattle. And that bleeds out. That goes to every place else. Wherever there's something going wrong, protesters, which are part of the crime aspect, the mental attitude of tolerance. This is a group of anarchists that have taken over Seattle over the last 20 years. And they start with their music, and they start with their grunge, and they start with the process of, goth. Back at the time of goth, if you go back to Seattle, you'll find that it was a major headquarters for that kind of belief system, and people that were just stepping completely out of society. And this leads to some pretty interesting behavioral aspects if that carries on over the years. It becomes a cultural aspect. It is seated in the people who are attracted there and the people who live there. And then it creates tolerance. So you'd have a great deal of homosexuality, you'd have a great deal of transvestites, you have a great deal of greed and getting off on greed, and have a great deal of many things going on. But the key thing that's going on in that area is the way in which they treat the police. And the police have been slowly but surely, they've been disempowered. Yeah, they have an enormous amount of crime. They have an enormous amount of drug abuse and alcohol abuse and homelessness. And the mayor and the people who run the place are nuttier than a fruitcake. They're a part of this anarchist group that have a belief system in their mind of tolerance. And tolerance is where anarchy begins. Yeah, and these people are tolerant toward having their police station taken over, the city hall taken over, everything taken over. Super fine. We're going to have a block party, we're going to call it, instead of a protest, so that we get a better PR. You know, that's what they did. That's the level of insanity that's in that place, which can create an enormous disaster if it keeps going that way. Yeah. And so out of it, in it, it has the largest, other than San Francisco, and which is the same place, same thing happening, same group of people, same enormous amounts of money, same monopolies, same everything, same homelessness levels, same crime level, but it's higher in San Francisco. And also that is the number one place you go to get transgender surgery and to work your life out as a homosexual and decide the many different genders that you're going to play. So it's basically a well-adapted cultural process in San Francisco. So crime is much higher. Evil is the very heart of evil is in San Francisco. The Church of Satan was in San Francisco. The Bible of Satan was written in San Francisco by LeBay, a man called LeBay. He was the head of the Church of Satan. That's San Francisco. The second headquarters of Satan is Seattle. Yeah, Seattle. So I'm telling you, Satan exists. Yeah, it's something you might want to consider and worry about. Yeah, because when you leave here, you either go back and reincarnate, yeah, or you go to hell, or you spend some time in heaven, and you're blessed and initiated in a higher mind and a higher consciousness and cleansed beyond your wildest belief. You come back with great saintly attitude, higher, enormous ambition and understanding, and a calling that moves a person if they spend a great deal of time in heaven between life and death. Yeah, that's a wonderful thing. Yeah, we should all work toward that. Yeah, but it requires a great deal of not being in the satanic reality of lifestyle, and letting go of all that, and living in a state of moderation, and learning many, many, many lessons during life that allows you your seat in heaven when you leave this place. You know, so that is something that is our potential, but we don't go there and stay. You know, we are blessed. We get blessed. We're educated in a way. Yeah, we're given insight and understanding of what would be a better way for humanity to exist. And it's a way for heaven to impress upon humanity and change and reincarnate and then become these wonderful people that make differences in the world. Yeah, that's how it works. That's how it goes on. But then there is another thing, and that's hell. And people go to hell. And they exist in hell. They don't come out of hell. They exist in hell. Yeah. So their time is spent in hell. Yeah. And it's, for me to say these things, it's like, you know, how, what, am I going to use the Bible in order to verify hell, and scare you with it? It's not until we have a time to where we have people that have gone to hell and come back. And they have visions. And while they're having those visions, they're all around the world. And they're not talking to each other, but the visions are the same, and the same people they're witnessing in hell. Yeah. So it kind of helps us out to know that we're 1 foot in hell, and we're 1 foot on earth, and we're 1 foot in heaven. And that in heaven, earth thing kind of goes as a blessing. We don't stay in heaven, but we can bring heaven to earth. Which is the purpose of getting into heaven and coming back and serving. Every person who has died and gone to heaven, every time they come back and cleanse themselves of all their negativity. They come back almost as a priest or a nun in service to humanity, knowing Jesus Christ, knowing God exists, knowing all these things. It just becomes part of their nature. They're completely reborn when they come back from death. And they have that experience. It's very, very common. So to relate to this reality that hell does exist, and all the work that I do, I explain that, you know, I'm against Michael Jackson. I am against people who are doing this, and what happens to them after they die. You know, where I come from, they go to hell. Yeah, and it includes the Pope. Yeah, and if you don't clear your shit up before you die, you're going to go to hell, and that includes the Dalai Lama. That includes everybody, and for that reason, the Dalai Lama has started to clean his shit up before he died. Yeah, he made it possible for Dorji Chungden to be okay. He stopped putting demonic impressions and curses on the very existence of Tibetan Buddhism when he was just himself cursed, and seeing it from that impression of his own demons. Yeah, and once that was healed, he didn't see it that way anymore, and he saw the very things he thought was threatening to be not threatening whatsoever. Yeah, and he was the threat. Yeah, so it's always that way. Yeah, and it's the same way with the Pope, because he covers up homosexuality and the relationship of homosexuality since the beginning of time. And if you go back in other periods of generations, you show that, oh, they're not covering up homosexuality, they're covering up having a relationship with Hitler and hiding the SS and hiding Hitler's main generals and everybody after the time of the fall of Hitler. So whatever evil exists, that group is involved in it, yeah, and have been historically involved in it. We can see many historical experiences that humanity has had, you know, through the Crusades and many different things through that Pope and the effect that it's had on civilization and humanity. Yeah, so there's extreme hell to pay, you know, to those people. Yeah, they do not. You can name Pope saint, but he's not a saint when he's sitting in hell, and flames are all over him. Yeah, and there's no way he's getting out. Yeah, no way. There's a long period of time until there is a moment of absolute understanding of where one has gone wrong, and you got to have that whole freaking thing pass through your being and experience that. Yeah, everything is personal, and God sees it that way, and hell is made to manifest, whether it be in a way in which you're drunk or an addict and you go to hell and you're in a bar forever and you cannot drink that drink, or you cannot shoot that heroin up, but yet you've got it sitting right in front of you. And everything that exists in order for it to happen, all your happening experiences are there for you. Everything but your fulfillment. Yeah? You don't have it. Yeah? All you have is the desire and the craving and the enormous amount of energy that comes with that. And that's purgatory. And people do go through that. It's just a different level of hell. If you're really bad, like Michael Jackson and Saddam Hussein and many others that we know of, trust me, they're in hell. And over time, there's going to be people who go to hell and come back, and they're going to witness these people in hell, and they're going to tell you about it. They're going to document, I've been to hell, and guess what? I saw Michael Jackson. Guess what? I saw Saddam Hussein. Yeah? And not just one, but 2 or 3 or 4, and it'll keep going. Not because they're, fanatic people listening to other people who have gone to hell, and now they're all saying the same thing. Most of this is not shared. Most of this is not about anybody knowing what they have experienced. Most of it is an experience completely of their own. Yeah? So they have nothing to go on other than their own personal experience. And as they're saying these things, we find validity by many people having the exact same experience. Yeah? And if you studied this work, the understanding of past life regression, or the understanding of people who have died and come back, and what they have said about that experience, whether going to heaven or going to hell, it happens. Yeah? People have witnessed both. And when they come back, it is a very important thing to listen what they have to say. Yeah, because it's our own doorway, for us to have a better understanding that these things do exist. God does exist. That's number one, But if God exists, so does a place that happens when you go against God and you cause harm to every living human being. and you do nothing to save or help any person out of the cause of harm. Yeah, you're actually complicit in the process. Yeah, which we're looking at now in everything that goes on in this world today. We're seeing people who are being busted, who are finding that they're perverts or they're pedophiles, and there are people in their lives who are complicit to that, just like our President Trump and his daughter and his son-in-law, and all those people are complicit. His lawyer is complicit. Everything is complicit. Yeah. So as time goes on, everybody gets judged. You know, I just want people to come to a redemption before they die. So I point out through revelation, you're about ready to be judged. You're in the middle of being judged. Yeah? Don't die before you come to this redemption. I hope the best for you not to have that happen. Yeah? And that, the process of Trump is he's going to be one of the first presidents that goes to prison. He's going to be one of the first presidents that sits for long periods of time on trial. Where Nixon, who he says is it's his president of presidents because he's so much like Nixon. And Nixon was able to walk, after having done all that because he was pardoned. But the guy who's coming in to become president will not pardon him. And all the FBI will not stand up for him. And all the people of the military or the people of the government in a political way that has to do with law, they won't stand up for him because he's busted every person, fired every person, mistreated every person, and asked people to follow bad direction. Generals are saying, I want nothing to do with this guy, and come to find out he's closest to Epstein. Yeah? The one person we're going to find out about at the very same time president gets kicked out of office, is militarily marched out of office, yeah, and into a court system where he's going to spend the rest of his life, yeah. And we don't have Epstein, but we have Donald Trump, who is complicit in all the actions of Epstein, yeah. One of his closest friends for many years. He backed off only because he was ready to go to prison back in 2005. So he can say, I haven't had anything to do with him for 15 years. Well, he has always, yeah? So the process is that we don't know any of these things, but all these things are being uncovered. And one of the main things that is to be uncovered is that heaven exists, a change in the world does exist, you do reincarnate, and you can go to hell, yeah? And that you do not get the benefit of reincarnation when you go to hell. Yeah? You don't have another body going out there living a life while you're in hell. You're in hell. Yeah? So we on earth are not subjected to these people. Right now, the Hitler that we knew is in hell. Yeah? The person that we know, Saddam Hussein, and all of them are in hell. Yeah? And they're being treated in the way in which they're meant to be treated in hell. And a length of time in hell could last for tens of thousands of years. Yeah, because time has no existence in whether a heavenly state or in a hell state. Yeah, so it's a very bad Twilight Zone perspective to consider that this is our life, this is what goes on. Yeah, and that when we die, we have we could pay in worse ways than we ever imagined. Yeah, but hell is set up for people who are extremely evil. Yeah, it's not set up for the average guy, the average lady who's gone through suffering and makes bad decisions and a bad lifestyle and is a drug addict. Those people, if they steal and they harm other people and do other things that collectively becomes so bad, judgment does come. And that is a pay time that it happens in hell or purgatory. Yeah. And then they come back into earth. But the only time that reincarnation takes place is when God comes and picks them up like a hand and picks them up. Yeah. So while you're in hell and you're going through this purgatory and you're going through hell, those places wouldn't exist if God didn't exist. So that's going to be your experience. And that what gets you out of there is your revelation that God exists, coexists with the very thing that you're existing in. Yeah? Because you're not in dark space. You're not in nothingness. You're not in empty state. Yeah? You're not under the ground and having no life existence whatsoever. Truth is that life goes on forever. And we go from one body to the next through the transmigration of the soul. And if we don't behave according to the law of the soul, the law of God, and the blessing of the Holy Spirit, there is hell to pay. Yeah? And it could be on earth as a person who is completely incapable, of carrying out anything in their life because they've screwed up all their emotional body and all their mental body and all their physical body in previous lives. Yeah, so they come back after having been a drug addict and turned into another gender and then reincarnate. The amount of hell in their life that they'll live through, working out all of those processes that inhibits their nature to be the person that they're really meant to be. They got to work their way back to that original nature. Yeah, everybody does. Yeah, so when you go so far off to the left-hand path and go away from that nature and turn into another nature, another form of perversion, then it actively changes your condition of where you're going to be in your incarnation. So in the process of when you reincarnate, while we're living in life, we have the opportunity to go up the ladder, and like an initiate or a spiritual quality, and we gain virtues, and we don't lose them, we gain them, So in the next body, those are instilled in that body, like it was passed down from our mother and father, the way we think in this physical world, In our etheric world, we are our mother and father. We're it, We're self-born, So when we take an incarnation, we take that body, but we take that body through our soul. And that body enters into the physical reality, and through all the process of creation, we create this new body. But it's self-created. And it comes out with a personality and a character and a look, and all the things that it is coming from you. And that comes from your past life. So if you become a sweet, kind, generous, loving, by nature person, then that's going to genetically be who you are when you incarnate in your next life. You don't have to work that out. You don't have to try and become that person. You are that person. So that means that there's these three vehicles that you come incarnated in, and whether or not you are on the lower side, just in that physical place, like Trump, where you're on the lower side of lower mind, lower emotions, and lower ways of looking at the world, because of all those things haven't been worked out by caring and sharing and things of previous lives. So you come back as a dense person, with anger issues and all kinds of defense mechanisms and, circumstances. But you won't come back as being seen as a caring, loving person with a caring, loving relationship in all of your life. But when that happens, it happens only because it's instilled in your soul, and it can't be taken away from you. So when you leave this body and you come back in the next body, you're actually building, through this life, you're building your next body. And that's called thought form building. All the thoughts you have about what you see outside yourself right now, and the way that you respond to it and react to it is a thought form. It turns into a thought form. That's who you are. And it comes out your mouth. That's who you are. It comes out your actions. That's who you are. And it starts from your mind. So if you've got a lower mind, you're going to have a lower action with a lower reaction. If you've got a higher mind, you're going to have a higher reaction. With a very beautiful, loving kind of emotional response. And the way in which it's presented in a physical way, it's very humble. So it doesn't take over the whole scenario. It just is a very normal, humble quality. And this is what we find in all humanity. It doesn't mean that we come back as a superstar or something and with power. It means that we come back with the ability to have balance. Yeah, and we gain more balance the more we learn through our life how to balance ourselves and how to gain more balance. And then when we die, that continues on into our next life. So we're the incarnation, reincarnation. Yeah. So what we are from a previous life, we reincarnate into the next life. Yeah. And if we degenerate that person in this life, we are the degenerated person, the form of the degenerated person of the previous life. Yeah. So we go down the ladder when we reincarnate. We go down the ladder. We can go up the ladder into closer and closer to heaven in every incarnation. It's almost guaranteed. Yeah. But it can also happen that we come back and we are actually down the ladder. Yeah. We go down the ladder. You know, so we have bad relationships with demons. We have really bad connected relationships with people who have demons. We have bad connected relationships with forces that want to control people with extreme no moderation whatsoever. You know, just intense glamours and all those different things that come with those areas, that is those negative thought forms that you had in your previous life come back with you. Yeah, but you've gone to hell. And you're bringing hell with you. Yeah. So that can't be, we can't have that. Yeah. That's in heaven, that's not the way it is. And so my incarnation is the law. Yeah. My incarnation is the balance of these 7 chakras. And these 7 chakras bring balance to the 7 chakras of every living human being. Yeah. So that means nations and cities. So we have a city like Seattle, and it has enormous dysfunction, and it's causing, right now, riots throughout the whole United States. Yeah, it's coming out of this one particular location. Yeah, and that one particular location has just been seized. You know, and it's saying, oh, we got to get rid of all the police all over the United States, and that's really actually coming out of one location. But every other location, because they have people who are from that location, from Seattle, are in every other location. Philadelphia, Minnesota, every location where there might be a riot, you got the Seattle people there as spokespeople of what is our plan. Yeah? Anarchy. Get rid of the police. We'll start there. Yeah? Yeah. You know, so the whole process is not a need for getting rid of the police or anything like that, but it's a process of getting to understand that we have a process of cleansing on the planet, that the hierarchy, the process of higher levels of humanity, is impressing ways to work things out into humanity. So they do exist. They're here. We just don't see them. Yeah, we're making the wrong decisions, like Seattle. They're led by masses of people making the wrong decisions in their own personal life, yeah, and in the way that they're dealing with their anarchy, yeah. So that affects the whole of the system, yeah. So that effect, that influence, has a deep effect on the reality of whether or not they can see through this veil, see through the chaos, yeah. The chaos itself, they'll go, oh, well, it's not the drugs. Yeah, that's not causing it. It's homelessness. That's what we got here. We got homelessness. All these people who are homeless, they're homeless. Yeah, and they're also crazy and doing drugs. But we don't want to make it any harder on them. You know, so we're going to give them the allotted amount of drugs it takes, whether it be needles or whatever. We're going to legally make it okay for them to do their drugs without being harassed by us police. You know, and that harassment means that you steal something, you mug somebody, you harass people, you act insane on the street, and you live on the street where people are trying to do business, you know. Oh, we don't want to harass the homeless people, yeah? Where in reality, they are drug addicts, yeah? And they can't move. They lost their jobs because they're drug addicts, yeah? And they're psychologically completely losing it because they're drug addicts, yeah? And they can't get outside of being drug addicts because the city that they're in is supportive for that. Yeah, they actually support them to be drug addicts, and they let them take over the city. So on a higher level, you got people who get paid, they got money, they got jobs, they're doing things, and they want to be anarchists. Because on the lesser level, they've got these people who are drug addicts and are destroying the city and are causing illegality. Over 5,000 arrests, per year is happening in Seattle. Nearly 6,000 is happening in San Francisco per year. Other places, it's 1,000, 2,000, So this is an extreme high rate of violence and crime that comes with insanity, and it comes with stealing, it comes with drug addicts, So it's not about homelessness. It's about people breaking the law, causing crime, breaking law in every possible way, and doing things that doesn't allow the process to be dealt with. Just like the police say, okay, well, we're not going to bust this person for their drugs, and we're not going to push them off the street anymore. We're going to let them live on the street. Go ahead, just live there. And pee there. And poop there. And let it just pile up. And now we have all the tourists who do not come to Seattle anymore because that's what they see. And it's not changing because of tolerance. They're taking all the power away from the police. So that's why they can go to the precinct and say, get out of the precinct. We don't want you anymore. And they literally walked out of the precinct and abandoned it and turned it over to the people of Seattle because that was already in motion. They've already completely devalued the police department. And in doing so, it's not about police with batons and guns or anything like that. It's about the law and being able to support and defend and bring about the right use of the law. And the police department would do something, they'd take something, put somebody in jail, but they'd be out in 12 hours or 48 hours, and they'd be doing the exact same thing. So they'd be wasting their time, and then they'd be asked to do other types of jobs that was much more like social workers, and they're doing these things that are taking up all their time and everything, while they should be doing the things that they're meant to do, and they should hire other groups of people who do this social work and do that. So it's completely confused. Everything is completely confused in the state of Seattle. And it goes out into America because we're dealing with lower mind. We're dealing with reincarnation that happens by the reality that we do not know that we reincarnate. We do not know that we die. And if we go to hell, we come back and we bring it back with us. And we suffer and we wonder why. And how is this world the way it is? The only way we fix it is by doing good things while we're alive. And there are opportunities out there that can change everything for Seattle. All they got to do is look in the right direction and follow another city that had exactly the same problem and solve that problem. So here's Seattle.
Let's look for a moment at property crimes for the 20 biggest cities in the country. New York City in 2017 had 1,448 property crimes per 100,000 residents. Los Angeles was just over 2,500. Chicago, 3,263. And look at Seattle, 5,258. The only major city with a worse number is San Francisco, which is dealing with the same problems for the same reasons that we are. They top the 6,000 mark. It's not your imagination. The crime here, the burglaries, the theft, the stealing of cars is worse than in other big cities. And in most cases, it's way worse. And then you walk down the street and you see a wretched soul like this, consumed by demons, maybe madness, maybe drugs, maybe both. This is what suffering looks like. This is pain. Ranting and raving, screaming silently, coming completely unraveled before our eyes. And then tomorrow, he'll wake up and relive the nightmare all over again. Starving, eating trash from a garbage can. Look at the people walk by. Of course they're not shocked. How could they be? They see it every day. How can this be who we are? How can this be what we allow? How did the word compassion get twisted into this sickening reality?
Damn blanket! Shut up! I'm trying to fall! Damn blanket! Shut up!
The Puget Sound Business Journal estimates that Seattle and its outlying areas spend $1 billion addressing and responding to the homeless situation every year. And they say that number is almost certainly underestimated. Nonprofits, city and county budgets, police calls to homeless camps, hospital services, building tiny houses, drug treatment and outreach. Picking up needles, clearing out camps, garbage details, chain link fencing. And the more money we throw at the problem, the worse it gets. But of course, what is happening in King County and on the streets of Seattle isn't about dollars. It's about human lives. How can this be the right thing to do? How can watching human beings live and die in filth and degradation and madness be right? The cost isn't $1 billion a year. The cost is quality of life. The cost is people not wanting to take their families downtown anymore. Families not feeling safe in their own neighborhoods. The cost is people no longer feeling like they are heard, no longer feeling protected. The cost is people dying in the streets and the rest of us getting used to seeing it, numb to the suffering. The cost is incalculable. How did we get to this point? This is a list of familiar faces, repeat offenders, people who break the laws, get caught, get released, and break the laws again and again and again. There are 100 names on the list. Scott Lindsay is the man who dived into public records and researched the list.
If we take somebody into the jail, don't give them meaningful help, and then put them right back out on the streets, we know they're going to commit the same crimes in the same places. And our public records, our criminal justice records, really show that that's exactly what's happening.
Look at the sheer volume of criminal cases. Calvin A., 68 criminal cases since 2002, repeated random assaults on random individuals. Drainen B., 54 criminal cases since 2016. Michelle C., 72 cases since 2000. And the list goes on and on. Seattle's mayor says this.
It is wrong to conflate homelessness with a rise in crime.
For at least 100 people, it would at the very least appear to be a factor.
Of the 100 that you looked at, what percentage of them were homeless?
Yeah, from our criminal justice records, 100% had indicators that they were currently homeless.
And what percent showed signs of addiction?
Yeah, 100% also showed signs of a substance use disorder.
And what percent were mentally ill?
Yeah, a little less than half had been evaluated by the courts formally for mental health conditions, serious, severe mental health conditions.
On average, the people on the list had 36 criminal cases each in the state of Washington and 7 jail bookings in the last year.
What this report also shows is that the police are working hard. They're making contacts, they're making arrests for criminal behaviors of, again, the same people in the same places over and over and over. What I think we need to focus on is what is our criminal justice system doing to support those police officers.
The 100 names had between them more than 3,600 criminal cases. For the most part, few have done serious time. They are out in our communities, walking our streets. The drain on the system, the drain on resources and manpower is incalculable.
The fact that this system could go on with, in effect, 100% failure rate for so long without anybody raising questions, without city council hosting hearings, without any action being taken, is something that it's hard for me to explain.
Yep. Yeah, and that's the truth. Yeah. You just heard the mayor. You know, where's she getting her statistics? You know, it took me, just a few minutes to gather all this stuff, and yet she's the mayor, and there's answers right in front of you. All you got to do is ask. Look on Google or something. Yeah, it's right there. Yeah. And they're in a state of tolerance. They're in a state of psychic attack. They are in a bubble. Yeah? And they are deeply influenced by satanic influences, causing them to live in a state of tolerance that literally creates laws in their mind that this is breaking a law by behaving or acting against them breaking a law. It's a real twist. Yeah? It's a real delusion. Yeah? A process of Satanism. Yeah? And the mayor, everybody in that whole place is all stuck. They're all in it. Yeah? You know, so you got to kind of step out of there, go look elsewhere. And the same thing happened in another place.
Found some right behind those prison walls.
Providence is a medium-sized city in our tiniest state. What they are working on here, while not outwardly revolutionary or mind-boggling at first blush, is a bold step towards saving lives and cities and giving tortured souls who've succumbed to the hell of heroin a fighting chance. And in Providence is a man who will tell you about the program they have developed. But first, he will tell you his own story.
I didn't have to do what I did. I wanted to be something that I couldn't be. I wanted to emulate the older fellas in the neighborhood.
His name is Michael Manfredi. He used heroin for 35 years.
I became addicted at the age of 15. I was a full-fledged heroin addict.
15 years old.
15 years old.
This is his mugshot from the last time he came to the Rhode Island Department of Corrections. 20 years of his life had been spent locked up.
Well,
nothing seemed to work. It was a life reeling out of control.
When I got the handcuffs put on me at my house that day when they kicked my door in, I looked at the lady detective and I said, "Thank you." And she looked at me like I was crazy. She said, "You're a partner." She said, "This guy's not saying it." She said, well, I said, "You just saved my life." Because if she didn't stop me there, I wouldn't be sitting here today. I would either be dead or I'd be doing life.
The question facing Rhode Island is similar to the question facing much of the United States. How do we protect our society while at the same time showing compassion towards those who are sick and struggling? It may be the question of our time.
I've wanted this program basically since the day I started.
Dr. Jennifer Clark is the head of what is referred to back east as the MAT program, Medication-Assisted Treatment.
We can't just ignore our way out of this. We can't arrest our way out of this. People are dying, and there's something we can do to stop that.
It starts out here, really, because the first thing that they do in Rhode Island is enforce their laws. Drug dealers and the people who steal and commit crime to get their drugs eventually end up in this place, the Rhode Island Department of Corrections. It's not a nice place. It's a prison. But inside the walls, something amazing happens. Every day, the inmates who are in the MAT program line up and they take their medicine. There are 3 opiate blockers that work: methadone, Suboxone, and Vivitrol. They are FDA approved, they get people off heroin, they save lives. Prisoners who enter the program choose which medicine they want to use. Michael Manfredi chose Vivitrol. He remembers when he first started taking it near the end of his last stint behind bars.
And one night I got a call, it was about 6:30. Come to the front desk. I said, "Oh no, hey, what do I do now? I know I didn't do nothing wrong, but..." They said, "Go see the nurse." I had tears in my eyes because I knew it was time for me to get that pill.
Really, this is the perfect setting because there's not as much distraction, actually.
Linda Hurley is the president of a nonprofit called Kodak. It's been around for 50 years on the outside. The state of Rhode Island hired Kodak to distribute medicine inside the walls of the prison.
All 3 medications you carry on your life. It's no different than if you were utilizing lisinopril or something, I don't know, a blood pressure medication or insulin. You have a family, you have a job, you build your life What it does is it stabilizes us physically so that we can do the emotional work that we need to do to heal from the disease.
I started messing around with the pills and everything, and then once I found opiates, that was the end of it, you know.
Ray Vincent has been behind bars for 3 years. He was stealing to support his habit for a while, then he upped the ante to robbery.
Maybe if I didn't come in here, I'd probably be dead.
So you think getting arrested was a good thing for you?
I think it saved my life.
Ray takes Suboxone. He knows he may take it for the rest of his life.
You sound optimistic, actually.
Yeah, well, you know, I don't want to continue to come here the rest of my life. You know, and if this medication is a stepping stone I need, I'll do it. That's the bottom line.
Inside the prison, inside the MAT program, the inmates have counselors. There are one-on-one meetings with recovery coaches and group meetings as well. They hit addiction with every tool they can throw at it.
And the recovery coaches come in and meet with anyone who's willing and interested in meeting with them so that they can develop a relationship with them on the inside and then have that relationship sustained on the outside.
Kevin Tangway says, I wasn't arrested, I was rescued.
And were you stealing to
Yeah, that's my main thing. What I do is I shoplift. I'm a shoplifter.
He's been in prison 8 of the last 10 years. He's on methadone.
We get it at 12 o'clock, and we're monitored. Like, we get dose evaluations, like the doctors, the counselors. We stay in touch so that they can know where I'm at as far as the dose is holding me, keeping me, like, so that I'm not really feeling that bad.
The MAT system is a lifeline, and these men are holding on for dear life.
I'm not afraid of a lot of things, but I'm a little concerned about, like, I don't want to go back to it. I don't want to go back to it because you don't even know what's real anymore, and I'm a little afraid of that, to die alone, you know. I want to kind of try to put things together. My mother is still alive. I want to kind of like make some kind of amends before something happens to one of us, you know.
Look at this place. Look at all the buildings, the infrastructure. What if this was a specialized facility where we could use all of our resources and knowledge to fight this thing that is happening? What if it was a place where doctors and counselors and caseworkers were available, along with the treatment drugs that we know work, the ones we know save lives? What if this was a very specific place where sick people learn how to live life again? Job training, therapy, treatment, all of it in one place. It would have to be a place where the patients couldn't simply get up and leave if they wanted, because the sickness is such that that doesn't really work. But eventually they would leave and have jobs and families and maybe continue to use methadone, Suboxone, or Vivitrol for the rest of their lives, the way some people use insulin. What you're looking at is McNeil Island, completely abandoned for the most part. You might call it an answer, waiting for the right question. It wouldn't have to be here. It could be somewhere else. But maybe that $1 billion that we spent last year could be spent on a tough, compassionate concept that actually works, that saves lives. As Seattle and the rest of the West Coast wander in the darkness, searching for answers, it's important to understand that the genius of what they're doing in Rhode Island isn't just that there is full drug treatment inside the prison walls. The genius is what happens when the inmates leave.
Priority number one being, how are they going to continue their medication?
The minute someone shows up in a program in the community, they have to be registered in that database, so we know if they're showing up or not.
Are the numbers going up?
The figure that I saw yesterday was 93% of the people who leave here on MAT are following up in the community. That's amazing.
93%?
93% are following through.
Michael Manfredi is one who stuck with the program after he was released. He's alive to talk about it.
Would I be where I am today if this program wasn't implemented? No. I wouldn't be here today. Honest to God, I'd be dead.
This is a Kodak Center. They are sprinkled throughout Rhode Island. There are 7 of them in Providence alone.
Once you come into the Department of Corrections and are medicated under methadone or Suboxone or Vivitrol, you become a Kodak patient. You have a patient ID number in our system, and our agencies throughout Rhode Island are all connected.
Former inmates or anyone else in the program show up anytime, any day.
Take-home bottles. So those will be filled.
And they get their medication. No red tape, no questions asked, no doctor's appointments, no vouchers. They're in the system, they get their meds. It's that simple. Josh Broadfoot overdosed 12 times and somehow survived. He got 3 years for selling drugs.
I'm grateful that I was arrested and taken out of the situation I was in, because, I mean, it sounds retarded to say I'm grateful I was arrested and I'm taken away from my family, but I might not even be there to ever see my family again if that situation hadn't happened. I might be gone completely on this day.
Josh is on methadone. The MAT program, he says, gives him hope.
You got to get out there and do different, but at the same time, we have a little bit of help along the way. We have this counseling. We have something that we know is helping us to stay away from opiates and people that care, and so that's a major help.
On the outside, those group meetings continue, and so does the counseling that is so very important, up to 3 times a week.
And I changed by becoming someone I didn't want to be.
My psychiatrist, my caseworker, my case manager, and my doctor that prescribes my pills are all in one facility. I don't have to go all over the state of Rhode Island. It's one facility.
You know, with all the counseling and all the support that I have, it's like, it's a very smooth transition. You know, I don't know how it would be if I wasn't on medication. Because I don't know if somebody, if the next day I get out, I see a bag of heroin, you know. Somebody I know just sees me on the street, hey, you know, gives me a high five or something, there's a bag of dope in his hand, you know, I don't want to. It's scary to think about, but that's reality.
Ray Vincent got out of prison 19 days after we spoke to him. He's going to school to become a welder. He gets his medicine at a Kodak Center every week.
It saves lives, so I don't think of it as being soft or compassionate. It is the right thing to do. It is what we're obligated to do as healthcare providers. It's the smart thing to do.
Patricia Coyne-Fay, who runs the entire correctional facility, knows that one of the ways of measuring success is looking at the death rate for those leaving prison.
Because I've seen it work. I mean, when you see the numbers, people who would be dead are not because of this program.
Leaving the walls behind is dangerous because addicts who are clean will use the same amount of drugs they used before and then overdose. The rate of that happening is way down in Rhode Island.
And what we found was a 65% decrease in mortality for people with a history of incarceration.
65%, and the program is still only about 3 years old.
So this works, yeah. This kind of stuff's been going on, and making decisions is the problem. And these people who are homeless, they're suffering. You know, they are addicted. They are addicted to drugs. Yeah, and so that debilitates their reasoning. It debilitates their emotional ability to get off of it, and it debilitates their process of have a physical life. They're sleeping in a sidewalk, yeah, and almost not awake most of the time because they have to stay addicted. They have to stay under the influence of those drugs as much as they can, alcohol and drugs, yeah. And so the answer is to heal their physical body. Yeah, get them what it takes in order to get them off the drugs, get them off the street. If they break the law, it's an opportunity to help them, yeah, and just pull them right up, take them right to the place, and the court system, everybody is in line in a compassionate, understanding direction, you know, without it thinking, oh, that homeless person will work it out. They have rights to be homeless, you know, which is where they're at. You know, they have rights to be an addict. That's what they're thinking. That is not compassionate. That's murder. Yeah? That is allowing people to commit suicide. And you're watching them do it every day. And because it's an inconvenience, you make this thing up in the lower mind that justifies these things as human rights, because your way of seeing things is so low-minded. Yeah, the mayor and the people of Seattle, they all collected together and became so low-minded, yeah, that they literally they can deal with it, but they won't deal with it because they're in a state of tolerance. Yeah, and so now they want to abolish the police force. You know, and yeah. So here's the answers. There is the one that I just showed you. That's the answer for that, yeah. But you have to do a lot of things. You have to build tiny homes. You have to allot a community, knowing that the enormous number of people automatically fall short of making their monthly payment and the rent. And they become homeless, and they have to sleep in a car. And, you know, they're so embarrassed they don't want to tell anybody, you know. And they're still working. You know, a lot of people are like that. Yeah. You know, so, and we're in such a place to where we don't have, you know, the opportunity for people to come into a place and say, hey, I've lost everything, you know, or I'm close to losing everything. You know, we don't have anything like that. Yeah. And if we lose something, we have to have an absolute community for homeless. You know, when you can't pay home, when you can't pay rent, when you can't have a job because you've gone through some mental, emotional process, or maybe you're a drug addict, maybe you're an alcoholic, maybe you got all these things and you don't break the law, you know, but you lose your job. You lose your financial support to keep your house and your family. You know, so slowly but surely they will be robbing. Slowly but surely they will be insane. You know, but right now they're going to go live in the car and they're going to go live in a tent. Yeah, and we really can't have that. Yeah, we have to have a compassionate state in which we understand that everybody has a right to have a bed. Everybody has a right to have a place to sleep. And if they are homeless and for whatever reason brings them to that, we can't judge them for that. It's not about tolerance. It's about law. Yeah, that we have to have laws put in place to where we have a prison. Yeah, and that prison is there in order to help, not to inhibit or cause harm or to torture someone once they get in there, you know, but the very opposite, you know, to get them off the street and stop the lawlessness, you know, and help them heal, yeah, which is just exactly what that did. And we can do the same all the way through in every case. We can do the same for people. Yeah. And if we don't do these things, you know, then and these are good things. These are things that you know, by the effect of people choosing to do this sort of thing in these places, you know, it changes, you know, the people who come to the prison. It changes the people who put it together. It changes the whole entire town to having better karma. Yeah. The whole town is filled more with light and calmness and peace. There's less violence. The amount of people who are robbed, you know, the people who are suffering and dying daily, you know, from drug overdose and other things that would normally be going on, families that would be destroyed. No. Actually, families are building. You know, people are calming down and they're finding people and they're developing a life. Yeah, that's what happens if you fix it. Yeah, there's a natural process that comes in to heal, you know, everything. Yeah, if we fix it, we have to fix it. So in the process, we have to understand Satan exists, you know, and there are things that make people not aware, and it makes people control laws and control other things that makes it impossible for people to actually do the right thing. You know, it's a special interest toward perversion, or a special interest toward tolerance of perversion. Yeah, whether it be in the Catholic Church or be in Seattle and the grunge, and it starts off with people wearing all white and black lipstick, and looking like vampires, and goth. It was such a big thing, and that was in the 70s, and that goes all the way through the mid 80s. And then we get the next thing, we get heavy metal, we get all the things that leads us directly into albums of Satan and ceremonies of Satan, and then hip hop, that moves us into, gangster rap. And the lower mind of everybody is not getting it. They're not seeing it. You know what I mean? And so this is going to add up. It's going to add up. It's going to take over a country. It takes over entire countries. And they're all suffering the way they are. And it's due to Satanism. Somewhere along the line, there's an enormous group of people who are hoarding money and ripping people off and killing children and causing them enormous harm and poverty. And only for nothing. And this is groups of people, and it's in glamour. So there are things that are happening in our social system that's causing bad karma. And those actions of bad karma. That's why I say we need a better lifestyle. You need to eat right. You need to exercise. You need to, cook for yourself, not, eat out. Do all these things, and you make better karma. All better lifestyle, better karma. And it makes it possible for you to be aware of not following the mainstream of bad karma, really bad karma. Because in our bad karma, we're enslaving children, and we're putting people into these places of tolerance, where we don't know that we're in a state of tolerance because we're unaware, because we're carrying out bad karma. So imagine a really bad karma would be if you take little children. Let's see. If you take an industry where, the glamour industry, male or female, but, you got hunting, you got all the hot rods and motorboats and, sports and all the things guys do, So there's a lot of glamour there. There's a lot of glamour, But it ain't nothing like the ladies. The trash piles on planet Earth is 80% caused by one side of the gender situation. 100 shoes. 20 shoes, 10 shoes, 5 shoes, 8 shoes. Whoa, way too many shoes. 1,000 dresses. Whoa, way too many dresses. One for a season, one for work, one for, one for Saturday, one for Sunday, one for, one mix and match, all this stuff. Guys, it's like, I got a t-shirt, I got shorts, I might wear socks, that's it. I put my hat on, I'm going bald, got to wear my baseball cap, that's it. That's my attire. Maybe I'll wear a shirt. Huh? What do you think, huh? Wow, maybe long pants over short pants. That's my attire. Doesn't go much further than that. Then if I'm really out there and I really want to get narrow, I put a white shirt on and a tie and a really funky bad pair of pants, that you just never wanted to wear in your entire life. There's no comfort whatsoever. And this is a man that and that other side who is causing all the ecological damage of the world and all the slavery of children, the female side, is doing that for real. But yeah, you don't want to consider it. You don't want to consider it because, hey, you're the compassionate one. You're the mother of the earth. You espouse the fact that you give birth. And all the suffering you go through for it. But the truth, the real truth, is that we're in an ecological disaster and an economic disaster, and we're using children to facilitate glamour. And just one side of it, just one side, the little glittery shit that the ladies have to have in their lipstick. They have to have it in their little fluff stuff they put on their skin, glittery shit. just glittery shit. Yeah, yeah, and they gotta have it. Yeah, look, check this out.
The big brands don't make their own products. They are outsourced, mostly to Italian manufacturers. Mica is an essential ingredient in makeup such as mascara, blusher, lipstick, and foundation. So, what is mica?
Mica is a shimmery material which puts the glitter into powders and creams. It produces the shimmery, glowing effect on the skin. It's in foundation, in lipstick. Mica's in everything.
It's a key ingredient?
Yes, in cosmetics, especially in the decorative department, I'd say it's one of the most important.
Manufacturers know plenty about the formulas of their products, but do they know where their raw materials are sourced?
No, not at all. Yeah, and you know, you'd think, there's so many products, so many things, like lipstick, and the oils and lamps, things like that, used to all come from whales. We didn't have another source. We didn't have oil from the earth and things like that. We weren't really with that. And we had paraffin, and we had processes of coming from, whales, all their fat. And so there are an enormous number of products that are created in order to produce the glittery aspects on clothing, or the plastics, the millions and gazillions of different types of plastic that has to be made in order to have a certain look, to certain shoes to look a certain way, because you can't afford leather. So now you have to have an alternative, and then you got to have 20 bags, and 18 to 20 to 30 to 40 to 50 pairs of shoes. And they all have these very interesting product qualities in them, and their cost level, it really is a big thing, because at first, if you can afford it, you get them at the higher price. But then you get the knockoffs, which you get from, Amazon and other places, and they're most likely really not the actual manufactured product, and it's illegal. And you're getting a good deal, but you've got little children making these things, and old people making these things, and ladies making these things. Just people who make $1 a day are making the things that we find as products, that we think is just products, Even our plastic bags that come out of manufacturing plants, and they're not made in, America. They're made in China, in the China manufacturing plant. The safety factors and all the things, and the age of the people that would work there to push the buttons and clean it up and do all those things. Children, so in this one, just Mica alone.
Old. He comes with his wife and children to collect mica every day.
Mica is our only option. We all come here to work. We can make about 300 to 400 rupees so we can buy rice and feed ourselves.
What do you want for your children?
I want them to be able to study, to do something with their lives. I want them to have a good job.
Anil's average daily wage is between €3.80 and €5. He hasn't always been a mica gatherer. Just 2 years ago, he was working as a farmer. He lives in this village of 60 inhabitants at the foot of the mines. There is no running water or electricity here, despite the brand new electricity masts.
That's... Poverty is the biggest thing on planet Earth. Is poverty. There are, in the number of people on this planet, there are more people impoverished than there are people who have enough money to live. So that means that when people are greedy, they take advantage of other people in the poverty state. Yeah, and perverts do that. Yeah, they take advantage. They set up a scenario to where they get children from a impoverished location, and they give them opportunities to make $100, you know, and they show up to do something at some rich person's house, and all of a sudden they're raped. You know, and find out that they're a pedophile, and it's all set up, and they're just using you for poverty sake of the fact that you would go along with this. You might even come back. Yeah, you know, so all of these things are really bad karma. Yeah, and do these people pay? You know, are they judged? In a world of Satan, while they're alive, no. Not most of the time, no. Yeah, they live long lives. They get away with it. All the Germans of Hitler's time, many of them got away with it. Yeah. All that happened in Tibet got away with it. Nothing was ever said. All that happened in Tibet, nothing was ever said to any of the people of Tibet, to the Dalai Lama, or any of that. Yeah. Yeah. They get away with it. Yeah. And they keep living, and you wonder, you know, I do, you know, what makes that not happen? How come people who do bad karma don't pay for their bad karma? Yeah? And it's because of Satanism. It lowers the light inside of matter, inside of people, inside of the things that you eat. Every single thing. Because it's all being taken advantage of. Yeah? The amount of money you're going to pay for something is overtaxed. Everything that you're going to do has got some kind of satanic impression placed upon it, you know, which is based on money. Yeah? So we're constantly in this impoverished state, and we're being used, and people, especially poor, are being used by people of perversion who, because they're so perverted, you know, that they link together with lies. They have no morals. And because they have no morals, they go in cahoots with businesses that want to come in and take advantage of the land and the people. Yeah. And, you know, it's a lack of morals is being built up in this process. And there's money to be made with a lack of morals. Yeah, so large amounts of groups of people, financiers, lack morals in their actions and decisions, just like the mayor of Seattle. She lacks the morals. She may not steal, she may not lie, she may not have any of that, but she's in a bad group. And the whole group lacks morals. And they're all a collective consciousness, and you can't really step aside and have another frame of consciousness, you know, without, you know, following the political agenda, you know, that comes with, you know, that process. Yeah. So there's a lot of effect in in the outcome of the earth in society. We have Trump. We now have the coronavirus. We have, you know, and lots of people dying, and no one cares anymore. And the same number of people are dying. Same number of people are being infected. Same number, yeah. But absolutely nothing on the news. Absolutely nobody cares. You know, it's though, you know, and yet same number of people are dying, and it's horrendous. It's an uncalled for death, yeah. But we're so moved by not the will of God, you know, that, you know, the activity of Satan takes us over, and we get swept up in that process rather than taking care of business until it's fixed, until it's right. Yeah. You know, if there had, you know, the process of, there had been so many different processes of things with the police, you know, and people get all kinds of angry from it. It just depended on how it was dealt with. Could it be quenched? Could it be calmed down? Could it be properly dealt with? Yeah. And if it had, then we wouldn't have had riots. We wouldn't have had what we had. If it would have, everybody had solidarity in their heart over this thing, and not anger that we don't all agree, yeah. But instead, we had a president that says, "Oh, no, we're on one side and they're on the other." Yeah, and these are people that are part of a group. Yeah, and he labels every single person who's out there in that group, even an old man of 73 years old who falls backwards, hits his head, and blood comes out of his ear. The president gets on Twitter and tells everybody, "I think he was a plant. He was planted there, and he didn't fall as in the way he should have, being pushed so lightly. He did that on purpose." And he's also a person who is trying to use a scanner to screw over the police. So he was a really bad terrorist. Every line that he wrote down, this is justified. He deserved every bit of it. We're lucky we caught it. We're on, like instant karma. But it's not. It's Satan looking for more failure, even in a compassionate, necessary act. And that builds up inside of everybody. You got the knee on somebody and he's killing them. You got somebody else who falls down. That builds up. When you got an intolerant place like Seattle and they're doing the things that they're doing and they have Satanism going on and capitalism is their rule, yeah, then you're going to have an outcome like this. So the only thing that's going to clear it is karma, good karma. So let me just show you what it's like to have bad karma. Yeah, I believe Michael Jackson has really bad karma. And there are people who've died and gone to hell and come back, and guess who they saw there? Yeah, a lot of people. And this is just one of them.
Other people who claim they've been to hell return with stories about famous personalities they've encountered there. Angelica Zambrano, like Ngauja, claims to have seen Muammar Gaddafi and Whitney Houston in hell. However, Zambrano also encountered Pope John Paul II and Michael Jackson during her visit. Zambrano specifically described seeing a ring of demons surrounding Michael Jackson whose body was burning. The demons forced him to sing and dance as he burned. According to Zambrano, Jesus himself was her guide through the pit. Through much of the journey, Jesus cried for the lost souls that they encountered. He instructed Zambrano to return to Earth and tell people what she had seen to save them from a similar fate.
So if you study any of this, you'd find that a lot of people, when they go to heaven or hell, they're led out of hell by Jesus, and when they get to heaven, they meet Jesus. So Jesus is pretty much a savior, and you have a very high percentage of possibility of ending up in hell. And the better you make this right in this life, in every life, the better off you'll be if you ever do end up in hell. You've got a relationship to Jesus, and a good chance you won't be there for eternity. You'll be there until Jesus comes to get you. But you got to come to sense with why you're in hell. What got you there? You. It's not a Trump thing. Trump can't say, "Oh, he did it, she did it, I never did anything." When you're in hell, you spend all eternity there until you confess. Yeah? That's all it's for, is a confession. And that's redemption. And the moment of redemption, guess who shows up? Yeah. So this is, it is the way God set it up. And it's been this way since the beginning of creation. Yeah. Except the biggest problem is that we have on earth, the gates are open for Satan. You don't have to die to go to hell. This place has opened gates. Tarot, I Ching, Ouija boards, all kinds of things that open gates. Ceremony, sex magic, all kinds of things opened gates. And not caring for the needy and making a bad decision, because this isn't an experiment. After a while, you find that, oh, that was a bad decision. We have to change our mind. We can't continue going this way. We have to look around and see who's made a better decision. Yeah? Because people like in Seattle, they're led by the people of Seattle. They're not being led by the higher mind of the whole United States, which as a whole United States, we're supposed to think like that. Yeah? We're supposed to share and care and learn, and, you know, we got problems, we can always tap into our brother state, you know, and, you know, how did you deal with this, you know? And it's the way it's supposed to be. But we have a competitive nature of Satanism that goes on, that makes bad karma. We do not communicate, we do not relate, and we think we're on opposite sides. Yeah? And you can't get shit done. Yeah? You can't. You can't have any of that going on. Yeah? Or you end up in this process like, you know, hell. Yeah? You know, so for me, the only way that people get this to themselves is the fact that I'm here and I'm doing what I'm doing and I'm cleaning this thing up, but I'm actually creating options. Options are already built. They're already there. I have empty prisons near Seattle. Right now, we could fill them up, yeah, and take care of all the people who are on the street who are breaking. You break the law today, you go to prison today. You break the law tomorrow, you go to prison tomorrow. It just keeps going on, and you got about 10,000 people who are all breaking the law all the time, and now they're going to go get fixed. Yeah? And the prison does what it's supposed to do. And the police officers are completely more soulful. Yeah? Because they're not forced to do bad karma. It makes them all frustrated. It makes them do bad karma. Makes them pull out their tasers, get militant and all this stuff, just simply because they have that job. And that job can move them into being that kind of person or a compassionate member of society that is there to protect and serve and maintain order. Yeah, not like beat the shit out of you and, you know, stuff like that. But when you're frustrated and you're afraid, you will do that because you have that opportunity. Yeah. So this is in my Christ situation, I have new group of world servers that are building and supplying and supporting, you know, everything it takes for an immediate transition. If you need tiny houses, I got tiny houses. Yeah. Tens of thousands of manufacturers are making tiny houses right now. People in their homes, working out of their garage, are making tiny houses and selling them. Yeah? There's all kinds of businesses going on because we need to do this. Not just to live in a cheaper house, but take care of the homeless. And it's going to get worse. We're going to come out of this coronavirus and we're going to have millions and millions of people who are going to be homeless. Because they've been out of a job for 3 months. They're no longer going to have any income coming in. They can't pay their rent. Now they have to pay their rent because that 3-month leeway is over with. Yeah, might go as far as 6 months, but that's going to end sooner or later. And the jobs, 35 million people out of work. That means 35 million people can't pay their rent or their mortgage. That means 35 million people can become homeless. And they all have families. These are people who are householders, you know, people who are counted for that. It's not the whole family that's counted. Yeah. You know, so you can't let this happen. Yeah. We have, if you look, we can help them. Yeah. We must help them. Yeah. We must. We can't think, oh, a food kitchen, somebody's got to do it. No, we got to make sure there is a food kitchen, and it's plenty big, and there's plenty of ways to help people, and we need to make sure our county is set up for developing homelessness, not allowing people. Imagine you're in Seattle, and you got someone who's got a tent, and there are 1,000 of them. They've all come in town, and they all have tents, and they're homeless, but they've learned that in Seattle, you can live on the street and do drugs and not get busted. Yeah? And they have a support system. They will support you, enable you. Yeah? So people from all over the place come to Seattle to live there. Yeah? But you don't have a law saying, no, you cannot sleep in a tent or even sleep on the sidewalk. You can't. You simply can't. And if you do, you're going to go to jail. You know? And you can't do that. You got to go, oh, you have no home, you have nothing? Okay, let me take you to this place where you're going to now spend the night. Yeah? And stay. And hopefully have a longer period of time at a place that is a tiny house. Yeah? But if you make a law and make it legal to park your tent and not have it legal for a police officer to go, you can't park your tent there. You must leave. And if you don't leave, then we have to take action. Yeah? But we simply can't have tents here. We can't have them in the park. We can't have them here. Yeah? We simply can't. But if you have got that going on, then you have a social need you have to take care of. Yeah? For whatever reason, it is a need you have to take care of. And you're in the United States, so the federal government must give you a substantial endowment to take care of that need, because it's not everywhere in the United States, but it's in certain locations. So you don't have to do this everywhere, but you have to do it where it's happening. Yeah? You know, these are answers. Yeah? So I'm only saying these things because we need to get past the politicians who are running this thing and the people who are pushing, many different types of behaviors inside the social system. That's all screwed up too. Yeah? So my process is to teach how to fix it, yeah, show you how it's fixed, yeah, and what the outcome could be. All these people were taken off the street, had 98% of them continued their drug use with use of, drugs that kept them from taking heroin, yeah. So they actually were clean, 98%, yeah, and then 68%, they didn't die. They didn't die. You clean them up, you get them off the street, they follow through a life from here on out. You have no people in tents, no people killing people, no people being pushed and shoved and beaten with frustrated police officers. Yeah, all of that gets fixed. Yeah. And then you get your economy back, because tourism is the major thing. Everybody loves to travel America. America's beautiful. Yeah? It's all about tourism. That's where our economy comes from. Yeah? Getting out, going camping, traveling all around America. That's where our economy comes from. Not being put into homelessness and put into all these situations that we're in. Yeah? We have to take care of good karma. Yeah? Locally. If you find a person in need, you must go through the trouble of helping that. Yeah? And talk with the county, everything. But every place has to put their focus into this scenario. And that's the only way we overcome Satan. Yeah? We can't jump into the satanic church and say, do you believe in Jesus? I'm going to exercise you. No, it doesn't work that way. They're there to possess you. You're already possessed. So the only way you can counteract them is not go along with what they say. Your will is what matters. That's what they say. Complete free will. My will be done. Whatever that will be, that whole attitude, that selfish attitude, it leaves out all possibility of maybe not, maybe I shouldn't. Oh, this could, all things that could bring in the Holy Spirit and allow you to take another view that's not self-centered. Yeah, that blinds you from helping somebody. Yeah, does that make sense? Yeah. So all of this can be fixed. All these things are out there. Homelessness is taken care of. Yeah, because trust me, over the next 5 years, there will be communities of tiny houses. There will be prisons filled with drug addicts. There will be people that will be living better lives, and there will be cities that are clean and having wonderful experiences of tourists coming to their city, and new generations of people who aren't goth and aren't, all this kind of stuff, all coming in because a different group of people is being attracted. People of service, people who care about other people, rather than being goth. How self-centered can you get? Oh, the world's at an end. I don't care. We're all dying anyway. That's pretty sick. Yeah. All right, so we're going to do puja. Yeah, do the invocation. Okay, just repeat after me. I invoke the power, the love, and the wisdom of my ashram, soul, and monad. To guide me into the right activity in the plan. To clarify and stimulate my mind. To transform and transmute my feelings and emotions. To energize and vitalize and heal my physical and etheric body. So there is a normal flow of energy in my physical and etheric body. Through this day and every day, I ask this in the name of the Christ to serve the One. All in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Seven rays to raise the senses of humanity, expressed as the soul. I invoke the sense of hearing in the seventh ray. Okay, take a deep breath. Hearing the word of God, the word of power. I invoke the sense of touch and the first ray, taste as the sixth ray, as the desire of all the nations. I invoke the sense of smell as the fourth ray, the beauty of revelation. I invoke the sense of intellect as the fifth ray, as the knowledge of God. I invoke the sense of intuition as the second ray, the understanding of God. I call upon the synthesis of the seven rays to be expressed through your personality. As the first ray of ideas, the mental body, the purpose, your life. Second ray of ideals, the astral body and your quality. The third ray of idols, your physical body and your form. The fourth ray of the fourth kingdom of humanity in balance. The fifth ray, the third kingdom, the animals. The sixth ray, the second kingdom, vegetables. The seventh ray, the first kingdom, minerals. I call upon the relationships of all the kingdoms to penetrate the personality of humanity and express its collective soul. The seventh ray and the fourth ray as the mineral kingdom. The second ray, the fourth ray, and the sixth ray as the vegetable kingdom. The third ray and the sixth ray as the animal kingdom. The fourth ray and the fifth ray as the human kingdom. The fifth ray and the second ray as the egoic soul. The sixth ray and the third ray as planetary lives. The first ray and the seventh ray as solar lives. The planet Earth, to bring forth the geomantic relationships of the soul, to integrate the egoic ray and the personality ray of each nation, and to express its true expression, to make manifest peace on earth as one living whole body of God. I call upon India to bring forth its fourth ray of personality and to integrate its first ray of soul to manifest the hidden light. I invoke China to bring forth its third ray personality, manifest as the indication of the way. I invoke Germany to bring forth its first ray of personality, to integrate its egoic soul of fourth ray, to preserve the truth. I invoke France and its third ray personality, to integrate its fifth ray of egoic soul, to release the light. I invoke Great Britain and its first ray personality, and its second ray egoic soul, to bring forth its service. I invoke Italy and its fourth ray personality, to integrate its sixth ray soul, to carve the two paths. I invoke the United States and its sixth ray personality, to integrate its second ray soul, to light the way. I invoke Russia and its sixth ray personality, to integrate its seventh ray soul, to link the two ways. I invoke Australia and its fifth ray personality, to integrate its fourth ray soul and serve the lighted way. I invoke Spain and its seventh ray personality, to integrate its sixth ray soul, to disperse the clouds. I invoke Brazil and its second ray personality, to integrate its fourth ray soul, to hide the seed. I invoke the entity of this planet, the planetary logos, to incarnate the life and the beingness of this planet. I invoke the expression of the second invoke the esoteric law of solar energy to make manifest the cosmic force of light, love, and peace. Okay, just relax. Okay, open your eyes. All right, so that's a lot of information, yeah, and it's the way in which it's best understood, you know, is in the process of, as Jesus, my last night with the disciples was the Last Supper, and a lot has been said about that. And basically what took place was that I knew what was coming up. I knew what was happening. And I say this during the Last Supper. And I explained to them, this is going to be a time in which you will go through transfiguration. Yeah, this is not going to be, after this, it will never be the same. Yeah. And so that's when I explained that I would resurrect. And that's when I explained that I'm going to suffer. Yeah. And in that suffering, you know, that's what I do. That's what I do. Life after life, I do this. Yeah. And I resurrect. Yeah. So I continue doing this. And then I explained that process is the process of life that I go through. And that process, it goes into everything. It goes into all the plants and all the animals and everything. So here we are. We're going to eat, yeah? And we're going to break bread, and we're going to eat. And this is going to be my Last Supper, yeah, with any of you, you know? But if you understand what I'm saying, it will be the beginning of our life together, yeah, from here on out. But you have to really, everybody has to take this into effect, you know, that when I explained, when I break this bread and I pass around the fish and I pass around the other things, you know, those things are my body, yeah, and then my body tonight, tomorrow, the next day, it will be sacrificed. And you are in process. You're eating something that is sacrificed. You're eating something that is offered to you, yeah. And so you have to learn to appreciate why it's sacrificed. You have to learn to appreciate that so that you can get what you're supposed to get out of it. So it's not a senseless loss, a sacrifice. Or you're always going to be wondering, should I eat this? Should I eat that? Yeah. Should I do this? Should I do that? Yeah. So there isn't a thing in life that isn't my body. Yeah, there isn't a thing you drink that isn't my blood. There isn't a thing you eat that isn't my body. There isn't a thing you go through that isn't manifested by me. By all action, a bird that flies by is manifested by me. Yeah, but it is my sacrifice, this process of my sacrifice that I go through, that allows that bird to evolve and become the nature that it is. And we have these events. It's called good karma. Yeah, we have no idea heaven is here and that it's right amongst you. Yeah, and it's only there because I'm here. Yeah, so but you'll know I'm here if you include me in your life. Yeah, and to do that, you have to know who the Lord is, and you have to stop serving Satan. Because if you eat Satan's food, your greedy mind, oh, this is so delicious, this is what I have to have, this is, rather than looking for what it is the best for you to eat, even though it's not the tastiest thing for you to eat. Yeah, you may not want to eat or drink that herb, but it's the best thing for you to eat, and it's the best thing for you to have. Yeah, and it's those things that come from wisdom. Yeah, and that's what you're here for. And you get the wisdom by taking in the creation. The process of the mind of God is put into play for when you say, oh, I really feel like fish tonight. Well, a cosmic event took place and made it manifest so you can have fish tonight. Yeah. So when you're having that fish, whether you're catching the fish, going through the hardship of trying to catch that freaking fish, and you finally catch the fish, always connect it up, with the offering. That everything is created in order to sustain life. Everything is created. If you do not do this, you lose all your ability to give back life into all the kingdoms. You'll take from a child, you'll take from an old person, you won't give to a child, you won't give to an old person, and it's just not because they're old or because they're a child, because they're in need, and your reaction is empty, and if it's greater, if it has karma to it, if it's greater, then you have an extra sensory perception of that need, and that's where I sit. If you ever hang out with me and you see me enter into any given situation, I understand the whole situation, everything, all the needs, how to fix it, what the real thing is, no unclarity, none. And the difficulty is everybody has their own view, and they don't see the whole thing. And you can't see the causal from way over here that could be causing the interaction over here. But you could certainly feel it, and disorder, uncomfortableness, all these things come with our ability to gain good karma. It's using our emotional body. So if we don't stabilize and give Holy Spirit into our physical food, into our action, our service, whatever we're doing, whether we're cleaning the bathroom or whatever we're doing, if we don't see that we're giving back the light that God gave us to wake up this morning, we're giving it back, we're putting it into things, and things in our life are given to us for us to have life. So this real interactive connection happens, and that's where I'm at. It's only when you have that relationship, do you gain a relationship to the Lord, and you sever a relationship with Satan. And it stays so simple and stays so clean, and you're provided, and you have no idea, and the act of service is so much greater when it really stems from your brain. I want to change my bad attitude. That's the highest mind. Not I want to do something to gain better karma. That's the lowest mind. So it's always in the alternative of higher mind, always in the understanding of God's grace, and seeing it and having a revelation behind it. That's where light builds up in you, and it goes right back into your actions. Yeah, and that will change Seattle. That'll change everybody. Everybody, you know, this is just a way to bring Christ into your life. Yeah, because I'm not talking a church or anything, but there is a real phenomenon of God and a real phenomenon of the Son of God, Jesus Christ, and there is a horrible phenomenon of Satan and the demons that come from hell and interact into this world, and the gates are open. You can only close them by closing your mind. Yeah? Close your mind to the astral plane. Yeah? Open your heart to higher mind. Higher. Yeah? And you could fix everything. Yeah? Okay. Enjoy.